A good friend of mine has said, I want to help people. I really do. There are so many people with a lot of problems, and I wish I earned more money. I wish I was rich. He said, I wish I was rich so that I can help others, but at the same time that I help them, I don't go without. So when I help them, if something happens tomorrow, a bill or something unexpected, I'm not going without. And he gave an example of what had just happened. He helped somebody with quite a bit of money, depending on, that's relative, but for him was quite a bit of money. And then what happened the very next day, there were some problems and he basically needed that money. And not that he regretted it, but he said, gosh, I wish I was rich, so then I could help and not go without myself. And I wanted to say, well, check out my channel. Because I talk about this. This wish is in many, and everyone looks at the ones that have much more than they think they have. Again, all relative. I'm not discussing semantics here, nor am I discussing amounts. I'm just saying everyone thinks the rich ones, they should help. They should help. Why someone's asking me for a donation or whatever? The ones that have should help. But as one goes through stages of having, that concept of having changes. So what you once thought when you're little, you think $1,000 it's a lot. When you grow, you realize it's nothing. When you're not a millionaire, you think $1 million is a lot. When you have it, you realize it's fuck all. And so it's all relative what one thinks they have. And that's not the only point I'm trying to make. How you earn it will define how money comes to you, will define how generous are you willing to be. The harder it comes, the more effort or of yourself you give. So a lot of people, they look like they make no effort. I've met a lot of rich. There is a difference between rich and wealthy. Again, I'm not gonna go discuss it, but there is a huge difference between rich and wealthy. Someone rich that has sold their soul and they lost their integrity and they're doing things their spirit is not happy with, you will call rich and stingy, rich and not generous, and you would look at them with disdain, possibly. But the effort and what it takes out of you to earn that money will define your willingness to part with it and your ease of parting with it. Now again, they're gonna be those on their high horse, like, I work really hard for my money, but I help everyone that I can, and blah blah, woof woof. Leave your self-praise for the second grade. I'm not here to give brownie points, nor is Santa Claus online listening to your self-praise. I'm really talking to those that are self-aware, that realize that the harder it comes in, the more unlikely they are to be willing. Even if in act they give it out, they are less likely to part with their money easily. Not only that, they will hold, a lot of people will say, well, they should get off their ass. Whoever needs money, whoever is waiting for a handout, they should get off their ass because money don't grow on trees. and I've done this for my money, so no, or whatever. There are all sorts of different attitudes to giving money. But this again highlights how different we are to what we want to be, and how inside of us there is this sense that the sense of generosity, the sense of giving, this wish that what's what's necessary for our existence, it's provided for, it's given to us. And the sadness some suffer when it costs them to be generous, and they have to suffer because they were generous. Now, with the generosity, there is also another concept of not letting of you have to be careful when you're generous that you don't create a dependence. So sometimes if you have to be you have to pay attention. If you are generous, who are you doing it for? You're doing it so you can praise yourself, or do you do it so that you're really guided to do it because even though the other person, the person in need, is manifesting its own reality as well, it's God of its own reality as well, it's creator of its own reality as well, there are times where your helping hand is that which they manifested. For as long as that's not an ongoing thing that you have to go without, so they have some, then there is no help there. There is just creating codependence. Now, also at the point of giving, there has to be awareness, and awareness tells you, because your giving is sure to be just the helping hand they manifested. It's absolutely sure not creating codependency, and in that moment you go without lack as well. So when the giving is from the right place for the right purpose, and right, again, duality, right versus wrong, and so on. But again, I insist upon what I said previously. There are times where we give and create dependency, and we feel it in ourselves because we obligate ourselves, we force ourselves to give it. We don't want to, but we do it anyway. That don't want to. Now there is don't want to because you're always stingy, you come from a place of lack of integrity, and your money cost you your soul, and therefore you don't want to because you soured to life. You became what you don't like yourself to be. So there is don't want to because you've turned yourself nasty, or you are a generous person, and for that particular time you feel a don't want. You should listen to that and do not hand out, no matter how great the need you see, because I'm not saying you should turn a blind eye. I'm just saying that may be the very experience that awakens the all-powerful God in the other person. being at the depth of that their desperation in that moment. So that don't want to, it's a message from spirit. It's not necessarily a message that you're tight, you're stingy, and so on. So again, disclaimer is that there some people are all of that, and they don't give anyway out of their nature, simply because they lost their humanity, and they do things their entire life they're not proud of, so they don't part. They just secretly feel, well, you should sell your soul too, and you should be fucked in the ass, and then you're gonna get what I got. So that's why we see some generally not generous people, but to those that are generally speaking generous, and they have an open heart, and they are compassionate, and so on, and they get to the point of not wanting, or they get to the point where they can't in that particular time, don't bash yourself. That whoever you're trying to help, may not helping them may be the greatest help you can give them, because right there and then they have the opportunity to rewrite their whole entire history. And you should be proud regardless of your circumstance. You should be proud that you helped, even if you didn't help physically with the cash that they wanted or the financial help they wanted.